I'm Bill Kimmer, Managing Member of Metro Mortgage Consulting. I'm a third-party loss mitigator. I work with people in negotiating short sales. We are doing a series of videos. We're doing 9 videos. This is section 7 of 9, and I brought in Steve Rosling. Steve is the owner, principal of Park Place Real Estate, and Steve's going to visit a little bit with us today about the real estate agent's perspective of having a third-party negotiator involved with short sales. So Steve, we've done a number of transactions together. How many transactions roughly have we closed?
Wow, a lot.
And more coming.
Yes, and we've got several more in the pipeline, so yeah, quite a few.
Okay. From a real estate professional's aspect, how do you feel about having a third-party negotiator involved? I
wouldn't contemplate doing a short sale transaction without a third-party negotiator, but more specifically without you. You know, there are so many potential pitfalls that come up during a short sale transaction, and you know, most agents really just aren't equipped with the tools and know how to successfully manage and negotiate those when dealing with either one lender or multiple lenders in some cases.
Yes. Steve and I are actually in a transaction where we have 7 lien holders involved.
Yes.
And we will be closing next week.
Yes.
We hope.
Yeah.
No, we're all set. It's going to be, we're going to close. No question about it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you bring up that particular transaction. I was thinking earlier today, you know, in my career, I've closed several hundred transactions, sometimes where I was the buyer's agent, sometimes where I was the selling agent, and sometimes when I represented both sides. And even with that wealth of knowledge and experience, if the seller was relying upon me to be able to successfully negotiate 7 different lien holders in this transaction would not have closed. And the only reason that this closed is because of Bill and his expertise and his experience. It's just the only way that it was able to happen.
Oh, thanks. It was a challenge. Often you're representing the seller, you're the listing agent, and
yes.
We almost always visit with the seller and go through things. Can you explain to me how helpful it is for the seller to understand what's going on in these transactions?
Oh, it's extremely helpful. You know, if you have a seller that doesn't understand the process and doesn't understand how it is that we're going to be able to successfully negotiate a short sale for them, we're never going to get off the ground. The seller is not going to understand what their options are, and probably that property is going to end up going to foreclosure. You know, that being said, I think that typically I can do a fairly good job of explaining the process to them, but really it comes across much better when they're able to have direct access to you and you can explain the different options that they have and the tools that are available to them.
Okay. From a listing agent perspective, when you list a property and say that there's a short sale negotiator involved in the transaction, do you find that to be helpful or harmful? It's
extremely helpful, and as I mentioned, I wouldn't do it any other way. Really, in my view, I think that doing a short sale listing and a short sale transaction when I have you involved is much easier than a normal transaction. You know, some of the several pitfalls that can happen during a transaction are, you know, negotiating the sale up front, inspection issues, things like that. Those really are kind of taken out of the equation in a short sale transaction. The seller is not concerned with what the sale price is. Really, the bank is the one. So when an offer comes in, you don't normally, you know, have that tense, awkward negotiation period between the seller and the buyer, you know, for anywhere from 3 days to a week and a half, because really the seller doesn't care what the sales price is. So that aspect is taken out, and it's extremely rare for a seller ever to respond to a repair addendum because the seller's not getting anything back from the property. Again, they don't care what the sales price is, and that's communicated to the buyer's agent up front. You know, the house is as is, and the seller won't be performing any repairs. So from those two standpoints, you know, doing a short sale transaction is much easier than a normal transaction where you would have to worry about those things.